Nervous. Oh.
There you go. Hi, friends.
Hello.
Hey.
All right. Should we just jump right into it, or should we wait a couple minutes for people to hop on?
Nervous.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I opened it up.
Your thing, Jess, so you decide.
All right. Let's just hop right in. So, hello, everybody. My name is Jess. We are on my channel, Books Past Bedtime. It's very nice to meet everybody. What are we going to talk about?
We're talking about The Vanishing Half today. I don't know if you read it. But...
Oh, yeah. I've read that book, for sure. I really liked it. I think I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I'm interested to see what everybody thinks and if my rating changes, because it usually changes after the discussion. All right, Katie, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name's Katie. I'm from the channel Katie and Her Cats, and I think I gave this one 4 stars, maybe 3.5. Main drawback was it was a little slow for me, but it had a lot of important things that I really am excited to talk about. And yeah, I think it was a really good book club pick, but yeah.
All right, Mare.
Hey guys, I'm Mare from Mare Reads, and I gave this book, I think, 4.5 stars. I'm not quite sure. It was kind of boring for me, but I also loved it at the same time, so I'm conflicted, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Cool. All right, Nema, our special guest.
Hi. My name is Nema, and my channel's name is Reads. I rated it. What did I even rate it? Oh, okay. So I was between a 3.5 and a 4, but I ended up just giving it 4 stars because I thought it was enjoyable, but I wanted more from it. So
fair enough. All right. Does anybody else have any non-spoilery thoughts before we just jump right in?
Who's our favorite character?
Reese.
Early.
Dude.
Who's Reese again?
It's gonna be a spoiler.
Oh, true. I also really like Jude as well.
I just
like Jude a lot.
I kind of liked what's the daughter's name? Wow, this is so bad. I'm forgetting it.
So there's Kennedy and Jude.
I kind of liked Kennedy. I liked her vibe where she's but she was a little bit spoiled in my opinion, but whatever. I thought she was cool. I liked reading about her.
Yeah, I liked both of the daughters a lot.
Yeah.
Hi, Laura.
Oh, I'm not even in the comments.
Same.
There we go.
So
hey,
Laura. Hi, Laura.
We all gotta say it.
Yeah. All right, so before we hop into our core of the discussion, we just want to give a spoiler content warning. So this is a pretty heavy book. It's got some heavy topics in it. It's got colorism, racism, domestic violence, transphobia. So if any of those things are uncomfortable for you to discuss or triggering, definitely just be aware that that's going to happen. So yeah. So I think the first thing we're going to jump into is talking about the plot and the writing style. So as we kind of mentioned already, a lot of us thought it was slow. I definitely agree with that, but I also kind of liked the pacing of the story because I just thought they were just telling a story. It wasn't necessarily something that was supposed to keep you on the edge of your seat in a way. It was just this is what happened, here it is. You think about it what you want to think about it kind of deal. So I kind of thought that the pacing worked with the story, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I never thought it was slow. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I never really thought it was slow. I think it's because I was reading along with the audio. So I don't know. It didn't feel slow to me, but I felt at the edge of my seat. I don't know. I wasn't I was I don't know. It was just a normal paced book for me. It wasn't anything.
For literary fiction, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked it a little bit more if we would have jumped back and forth between the 2 stories, because I found myself forgetting a lot of who we follow first, Desiree. I think I forgot a lot because we started seeing her towards the end of the story, and I'm like, wait, who are all these characters? Because I completely forgot who Adele was. So I think the story would have benefited having a not only time jump, but perspective jump between the twins, instead of having one big chunk one, then another big chunk one.
Yeah, so more alternating.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did not necessarily love how the story was told because I like to revisit characters and revisit their perspectives. And I felt that it was just in those big chunks. Like we got Desiree in the very beginning and then maybe a small bit at the end. And I was really curious about what was going on with her. And I know that the story is about her and Stella, so it makes sense that a lot of time is spent on both of them individually, but I would have liked to have been in her head while also in Stella's head, if that makes any sense. So that's why I felt like it kind of dragged for me, is I didn't really care about certain perspectives as much, and so I was bored reading it at some points.
Okay, makes sense. Oh, I think a lot of people agree. Laura basically said what I was trying to say, but more eloquently.
As always.
Yes. So we kind of touched on this too, but like the nonlinear timeline, did we like get confused? Was that kind of weird? Would we have rather it just been like from start to finish kind of thing? I kind of liked how it jumped around. I just always kind of like stories like that. I think it keeps it interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was confusing necessarily, but I did have to keep checking what year it was. It's like, wait, when is this happening again?
Well, I felt like sometimes too, even when it said like the year in the beginning of the chunk, they would talk about other times in the chunk that just referenced the, I don't know. It was definitely like very nonlinear.
I think it was the worst in the first couple chapters. Because at the very beginning of the book, it was hopping all over the place. And I think once I got a grip of like who all the characters were, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board. Yeah. So it was only a problem for me in the very, very, very beginning.
Makes sense. What do we think about this comment of Laura's that it was told in a circle?
I didn't like that idea.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I definitely see it interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So should we talk about, let's move on to the setting at this point, and we can kind of talk about like how we think that the small town affected these characters, Mallard specifically as a town. What do we think? How did that, living in that kind of atmosphere, affect the twins? Did it lead to their division? That kind of thing.
It was so bizarre for me. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
It was so like bizarre for me. I was like, what kind of town? How does this even like work? Like, I don't know. I thought it was really weird, but I thought it was also interesting. I like small towns, you know. And I liked like hearing about their like, I think it was Desiree, she was saying how like the people thought if you drank coffee, like your child would come out really dark, or if you, what was the other one? I tabbed it. I'm not gonna look. But anyways, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting how kind of like wives' tales like that can get spread in kind of like a small town setting, almost like that, and it kind of becomes part of the collective consciousness, where it doesn't have any real backing. But
I thought that the setting of Mallard was so, what did I just say? I meant to say Mallard. I thought that the setting of Mallard was so interesting in contrast to where Stella is living now. So I don't know. I loved the small town vibes. Like obviously the small town was not great and there's a lot of problems in it, but there was still that draw to it. Like Desiree left and never intended to come back, but she still found herself back in that same place. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's how like a lot of people that grow up in small towns, they spend their whole childhood like wanting to escape, but then once they escape, although there's negatives, they realize the positives as well and are drawn back to it as they get older. I thought that seeing that progression in Desiree is interesting too. So I also noticed like the parallels between Mallard and the neighborhood that Stella chooses to live in. It's a very like white, obviously judgmental town, don't like outsiders. Were they very similar? Were they the same, or is it like totally different?
I think there's a lot of similarities, but I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking right now. Laura's probably got a better way to explain this than I do, but I think that it was so interesting how both of the towns were very judgmental and were very stuck in their ways, but were for different reasons.
One of my favorite quotes towards the beginning of the book was how, I can't remember who was the husband that was abusive.
It was Desiree's husband. I don't remember his name.
He was from Ohio, and she made a point about the difference between Northern racism and Southern racism, how the Southern racism was much more obvious and where the Northern racism was much more passive. And I think that is kind of what we call neo-racism now, because that's much more passive and much more acceptable nowadays. And I think that's a lot where the parallels are between Mallard being much more objectively racism versus the passiveness of the LA neighborhood. So I think that's I thought that was a really interesting point that they brought up, but I don't know. That's a good point about the parallels.
I didn't notice any. I mean, like,
we started talking about it.
But I was surprised. You know, when I was like younger, I always had the idea in my head, like you know, like in LA and like, you know, like the East Coast and the West Coast, they aren't like, you know, like the Midwest, South states, whatever, Southern states. And so I was like, dang, people were like, I knew that people were racist in LA, obviously, especially like in that time. And I know there's racism everywhere, but I was like, I thought it was like a lot more like, you know, accepting, but or maybe it was just fiction.
Yeah, and we also have to consider this was like the 1950s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though it's so easy to sit there and think like, oh, that was so long ago. Today is not like that, but it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
like, it really hasn't changed that much.
Just a couple months ago, the last woman that was on the Slave Freedom Fund or whatever that was called just passed away. Like, people were still alive that were directly affected by these things. And growing up, I mean, it just seems like it is not our world today, but it's definitely live today. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Right. Want to wrap up our discussion of the setting? Anybody else have any final thoughts before we move on to talking about our characters?
What are your thoughts, Jess?
I mean, I basically agree with everything that's been said. I was very like, I think Mallard was such an interesting setting. I feel like it really like shows systemic racism in a way too, in that just like really demonstrates how the white people of the world have like instilled in the mindset of everyone that that's the ideal. And it's just like crazy to see how ingrained that is in society and really sad. And it's just like, we should be, I don't know.
It's so internalized.
Yeah. It's just, I've never really like thought about it that deeply, like racism kind of being so ingrained in like literally everybody in society.
Yeah.
And how it affects everybody in that way. It's just crazy. I thought it was a very interesting setting, like for this book to explore these issues. So, and I definitely thought that there were a ton of parallels with Stella's neighborhood in California, how she just kind of escaped one form of judgment for another. So, I don't know. I thought it was super interesting. All right. Do you want to move on to talking about the characters? Let's jump into Desiree. So
Desiree annoyed me. I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
She really annoyed me. I don't know why. You know what? Towards the end, she didn't. But I don't know. Something about her, she just really bothered me.
So I think one of my biggest complaints with Desiree is that she took Jude back to this town where she knew Jude was going to be abused and treated differently. And I think it would be interesting to discuss like what her job as a mother is. Is her job as a mother to protect her and shield her from these things, or was she right to bring her back to this hometown where she could be with family and in a more stable household? Like, what are I feel like there's positives and negatives to both look at that situation, but I just really felt bad for Jude being in that situation.
See, but you bring up an interesting point there. I think that, yes, Mallard is probably not the best setting to grow up in, but she was in an abusive home and she had to get away from her husband, that was just not a good situation. So I think that it's, which evil do you choose? It's a hard situation for anyone to be in, especially as a mother wanting the best for your child.
Mm-hmm. But then even almost like she brought her into another abusive household with the way her grandmother treated her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then by not shielding her from that, Jude ended up going off to attend medical school.
Yeah.
And
successful.
Being back in the 80s, it probably wasn't very common for Black women to be able to get into medical school. And maybe that was part of showing her that there wasn't anything that could hold her back and to believe in herself. So I don't know. I never thought of it that way, but maybe it was a good thing to go back to Mallard just because, it wasn't the best place for her to be, but I don't know.
I never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren makes a good point too, which I think we were kind of touching on, that she didn't really have a lot of options to go, where to go. I mean, I definitely think she was right to remove herself from that situation.
Well, the intention right away, because she went home thinking this is going to be temporary.
Yeah.
It was never going to be a permanent thing. And I think once you're kind of settled, it is hard to move, to uproot everything, especially when you have a child. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the intention was, I just need a place to stay for a month or a couple months. And then it turned into, this is easy,
It did kind of seem like that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would say it's easy though. Like I really respected Desiree and I really liked her character a lot more than Stella's. And she went back to the place that she so desperately wanted to escape from for the best interest of her child. And she worked a job at a cafe. She wasn't living some glamorous life that she always had wanted to, but she was doing what was best for Jude. And I guess it depends on your perspective in that situation, but because she didn't have anywhere else to go, I'm sure she wanted to do bigger and better things, but it's just a matter of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
She did. Now you guys are making me feel bad. Never mind. Yeah.
If she has bad vibes, she has bad vibes for you. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about this book is like, it's just, there's two sides to every coin, it seems like, in almost every situation in this book.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so interesting.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you get the same bad vibes from Stella?
Worse. Mm-hmm. It's terrible. She was really honestly, at first she was terrible all throughout it. I was about to say something, I was like, no. The fact that she left a note to her sister saying, like, I've got to go my own way. Like, it's just really bothering me.
Troy and Gabriella.
Yeah, I was just thinking
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the same at all. I had to.
No, I was about to sing it. Yeah, I didn't like her one bit.
She definitely had bad vibes. Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
No, it's okay. I just wonder if like she necessarily had to leave her family in the way that she did, in order to live this life that she decided to live. Like, did she really have to kill off her family?
Mm-hmm.
Did she really have to not be in contact at all with her sister, even to just let her know like where she was and if she was okay? I don't know.
I don't know how she had such like a poor, like I know why she had such a poor relationship with Kennedy, but it really upset me that she lied to her own daughter and told her, my family doesn't exist, they're all dead. And for her, that's probably a huge struggle. She wants to reach out to these family members and she doesn't know that they're even alive, which just can be very traumatizing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. constantly. Like, even when she had, like, the proof, she's like, stop. Like, she just went, it bothered me so much. Oh, wait. Sorry, wait, did you guys like her relationship with Loretta? Did you guys think that was like?
I didn't know what to make of that, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I felt like it was almost like her like guilt manifesting, and she like really wanted to connect with Loretta because she felt familiar in like this world that was so unfamiliar to her. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what to make of it either.
Yeah.
I think it was like a keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Like she was trying so difficult. Like, so the one point I wanted to make bring up about Stella is towards the end of the book, she brings up that she left to be white so she could be free. And I think what she chose was less free, because she lived this life of paranoia and she was living a life that was a lie. And so she wasn't free at all. And I think she tried to keep Loretta close to kind of keep an eye on her because she was afraid that she would find out that she was Black. Yeah. And that was why she tried to stay so close to her. So I don't know. That was just my thoughts on it.
I think that could have been like a thought at the back of her mind. I also think she wanted to be friends with her. Yeah. I don't know. I think there was like very many aspects and nuances to that friendship.
It was complicated, yeah.
I also kind of Loretta guessed that she was Black, and
I think she knew.
I kind of think she did too. Yeah.
Loretta was cool. She didn't blow up her spot or anything, which I wanted like desperately. I was like, somebody please just okay, yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, kind of the parallels between Loretta and Desiree. Like Loretta moves into this neighborhood with her daughter, knowing that she probably will be judged and ridiculed, and she's like trying to send her to this private school that nobody wants her daughter at. And so I didn't know if like those parallels were meant for us to be drawn between her and Desiree, and Stella was drawn to her because she reminded her of Desiree in some ways. And
that's connection. When I read the book, that's kind of how I viewed it, is she was kind of looking to fill in the gap that she had left by pretending her sister didn't exist. So I kind of thought that she was searching for like a sisterly relationship with her. But I definitely agree with what Katie has been saying, because that gave me chills. I definitely agree with everything you said there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and how she fell into that depression when Loretta moved, like, yeah, for sure was like filling in that gap.
Yeah, exactly.
How sad. I felt so bad.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said I felt bad when they started like throwing bricks and stuff, all because she said that, or Stella said that she felt like she got weird vibes from the husband.
Yeah.
I was like, that happened so many times. Oh my gosh, but like,
Stella's honestly the worst, because she was the one who was trying to keep them out in like the beginning of this whole situation. I remember reading that and like having to reread where she stood up and said like, "Oh no, we don't want them to move here." I was like, did she really just say that? Like, I was so mad.
Yeah.
I think it was all to protect her secret.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't even imagine, like, living that kind of fear around your husband, who's supposed to, you know, have your back and everything, and he doesn't even. Yeah. And my thing is why didn't he question her more? Was he that, like, narcissistic that he didn't, like, at least Kennedy questioned, like, you never talked about anybody from high school. You never called your family. You never talked about any memories in the past. Like, Blake just accepted it and never.
That's what I was thinking too.
But he, like, the fact that he never even questioned. We might have a visitor here soon. Bill's jumping up here.
Please, Kat.
Yeah, they always come up to visit. But I just was baffled by the fact that he never questioned her on anything and just believed her. But I guess if that's what he assumed when he met her.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really. it didn't bother me that much.
Blake
It was believable to me.
Was such a saltine cracker of a character.
Yeah, I mean, he was
I feel like he didn't have any reason to question her, so in his mind, why would he? You know, like, why overthink things when you don't have to? Like, it's easier just to not question it.
So my mom in the chat earlier made this point about Desiree, like wondering if she stayed in Mallard if Stella might return. I definitely think that that's true in some ways, even if it was subconscious.
No, I agree with that completely. I definitely think that's why Desiree stayed in Mallard, is because she wanted her sister to come back, and she spent so long searching for her, kind of gave up.
Yeah. So why do we think that like Stella eventually went back to Mallard? And like, then why did she just turn around and leave again?
Girl, I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it was just to protect her secret. I think that she went there because she genuinely felt that Jude was poisoning Kennedy in a way and making her want to investigate more. My cat's messing with my braid string. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I didn't really like figure out why she did that, and I just like it was so hard to like because I think she was definitely conflicted. Like I think she wanted to stay, but at the same time, like she for some reason didn't want to give up the life that she had created.
Yeah, I think Stella's character was literally protecting her identity.
Yeah.
The fake identity that she created. And so going back to Mallard was just her trying to silence Desiree and Jude. So because she went back there.
Yeah, I don't
really.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, do you think she was trying to get closure?
I think that in some parts, yes, she's trying to protect her secret, but I think that she's also genuinely curious as to how how Desiree's doing, how Jude's doing. Like, she'd never met Jude before until this whole situation imploded, and she is probably just curious about the life she left behind and wanted to know if she was firm in her actions, like if that's really what she should have done.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's like a lot of nuances to it. I don't think it's just one or the other. I think she definitely had a lot of different motivations. But it just is
complex.
Really sad, like how she just leaves without saying goodbye. And like I understand, like she couldn't say goodbye or else she wouldn't leave. But it still just sucks, especially when her and Desiree, like, while they were angry at each other, they connected again, just like they had no time between them, and we're just like laughing and being together, and then just to disappear again. Just I don't know.
I feel like she did it just to do it. Honestly, like I think she just went. Just like I can't really think of like a reason why. Like maybe to protect her identity, maybe to see how things were, but I think she just hopped on a train and just went. I don't know. I don't know, especially the way she left. Like, yeah.
Do you think like early letting her leave like that and like helping her leave was like a betrayal at all, or
no?
I don't think. I think Early knew that he wasn't going to do anything to stop her.
Yeah.
I think he was just like, okay, and he went and pawned her wedding ring off, and I think he did everything he could. Early was great. I loved him.
Yeah, I liked
Early is an unproblematic fave. He's the best.
He is. What do we think about Stella giving them the ring? Does that like do we think that was a way to like help alleviate her guilt, and then she just like felt fine afterwards? Or
I think it was the bare minimum thing she could have done.
Yeah, definitely.
I think she had way more than that wedding ring, because she went home and he was like, "Oh, we'll get you another one."
Yeah,
he could have been sending money home this whole time, and doing something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really think too much of the ring thing. I was like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of
It
same. I
just
was
showed
like, that's
how
the least we can do.
I think it just showed how moving to LA and living the lifestyle that she was living definitely showed. Like her first thought of like I need to do something for this family was just giving them money because she was so materialistic. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and also like what Caroline said. I just was probably
yeah, exactly.
the reason. Yeah.
Because I think that's probably looking at her life. That's probably what she does to make herself feel better because she's so empty as a person and so lonely because she didn't have any friends. So it was probably like, oh, the best way I can feel like I've contributed to this family was just to give them money.
Yeah.
Because that's all she could give them. She couldn't give them love.
Exactly. She must have been such a lonely person, and she didn't have like a true relationship with anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Like even her own daughter.
And that was the point I wanted to bring up about being free, is she was the least free person. She was living in a trapped cage because she chose to live the life that she did. And yeah, you might get the freedoms. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, it's just like she had to be consumed with this fake identity all the time.
Yeah. Like
and
it was such a huge sacrifice. Like even if it was payoff, like was it worth it kind of thing.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna become somebody else, like at least have fun with it. Like, okay, you could be like, okay, you want to be like white passing or whatever. Why get married and stuff where like just go and live life and like do whatever you want to do. Like she's literally doing nothing. She's
she has floating around her pool all day.
I know. Like she has nobody. Loretta was her like one person. She ruined that too. Like, what are you, girl? What are you doing? Like,
yeah, like she was finally starting to have a real relationship, and she can't even like stand up for her against her uppity friends who aren't really her friends anyway.
Yeah, and she couldn't even raise her daughter correctly. Yeah, because she had to lie to her all the time.
Yeah,
and so that I think that was like the main reason why they had such a strained relationship. And I really like the scene where she like told her daughter like I'm from Mallard, and she's like, oh, she's just 4, she's not going to remember. And then later down the road she's like Mom, what town were you from? And she's like, oh, Opalipus or whatever it was called. And she was like, no, I'm pretty sure it started with an M.
Yeah, and that's why Jude's story really stuck in her head, and she didn't just write it off.
Yeah,
because it rang a bell.
Like that's the first time she realized her mom was a liar.
Yeah.
That was like gave me chills. I was like,
yeah.
It did make me happy though when she finally did open up to her daughter. It was very much like too little, too late, but at least they did finally repair that relationship in a way and like start being honest with one another. I do think that was important and very much like character development for Stella, but I don't know.
But I still think she was honest to her for selfish reasons, because it said like she was so exhausted with lying that she just couldn't do it anymore. And even it didn't fix the relationship really, because whenever the grandmother died and Kennedy found out, she didn't tell her mom about it. She was like, oh, she's not going to care.
Yeah.
So it was, too little too late.
Well, it was almost like in order to survive, Stella just had to shut herself down to everything. Like she couldn't do anything, or else she would implode. So I don't know.
I don't even remember her. Did Stella open up? Because I remember like she gave her the picture, and then what happened? Then Kennedy left. She was like, "Okay, I'm done with you."
Yeah, after she came back from like Europe or something, and her mom picked her up from the airport, then she was like finally ready to tell her.
Oh, right.
It definitely was kind of in passing. Like we didn't actually like see anything in detail, but
yeah.
All right.
We spent a lot of time on Stella.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Who do we want to talk about next? Want to talk about Kennedy? Kind of.
Sure.
Right into her. All right. So I thought Kennedy was a super interesting character. I thought both of the daughters were interesting because I saw that they were like more like their aunts than they were like their moms.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kennedy liked acting, and Desiree liked acting when she was younger. And they're both kind of like rebellious, want to stray from like the norm, like what's expected of them. So I thought that was super interesting. I don't know if anybody else noticed those parallels, but
I don't know. I kind of thought the opposite. I thought that they were like their moms, not like their aunts.
okay.
I don't know. I like
Well,
sorry, were you saying something?
I was just gonna say, like, I can see that because Kennedy was always like playing a role.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing with her, is that she was an actress, and a lot of times, like, I remember they were talking about her being a part of a soap opera later in life, and people would blur the lines between her character and her as an actress. And I think that is very symbolic of Stella and who she is as a person, because she doesn't even really know who she is anymore because she spent so much time wrapped up in this false identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally see that too.
You guys are like deep thinkers. I'm like, I was like, yeah, all right. Well, I didn't even notice that. It's cool.
Yeah,
I feel like these discussions help me think more deeply about the books that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
My ratings have changed after every discussion that we have.
Yeah, mine too.
Mm.
Do we think that she was so drawn to being an actress because like she didn't know her mother's history, so she didn't know her own history, she didn't know who she was as a person, so she wanted to like felt like she had to be somebody else to be herself?
Yeah.
So do we think that she is more like Stella or that she's more like Desiree?
I think she has characteristics of both, but I think that for me, when I was reading it, I saw it more so as they were reflections of their mothers.
Yeah. Anybody have any thoughts?
I thought she was most like Desiree, just because I think that's literally it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just saw her a lot too, and like how she wasn't necessarily satisfied with the life that her parents wanted her to lead. Whereas Desiree was very much like that when she was younger too. She really wanted to get out of Mallard. She didn't want to be cleaning houses the rest of her life. Like she wanted to do bigger, better things. But and then they both kind of came full circle and reunited with their mothers too in the end. All right. How about Jude, the other daughter?
Oh, she was my favorite.
Yeah, I really like Jude as well.
I thought she was cool.
I saw a lot of characteristics between her and young Stella too. Like I thought, because like Jude is kind of quiet and reserved, keeps to herself. She's very smart, wants to go to school. I just really saw Stella in her, and I just really thought it was interesting that they kind of like swapped.
I liked hearing about her time when she was little. And what was her boyfriend's name? I thought that was interesting. I liked hearing about her when she was younger.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked Jude and Race together. I liked their relationship. I thought it was
my gosh.
I loved them so much.
That was one of my favorite parts of this book.
I tabbed something I wanted to look up later after I completed the book. I wanted to talk to you guys first about it, but I was really interested to see what the history of being transgender was, especially like in the 70s, because I know he did go through surgeries and was able to get testosterone and everything like that. And I was really curious to see what the history of like the medical field was. As far as like transgender procedures, because I'm sure there wasn't a lot of research back then into these things. Probably wasn't a lot of doctors that performed these procedures, because they did go to New York City in order to get his top surgery. I'm sorry, but I just was really fascinated and I was like, I need to do some research on this later on.
Yeah, I definitely think that like it's always existed, but probably a lot of stuff was happening under the table back then. As he was getting testosterone through street drugs, like which it's a totally different dose of testosterone than type and can't really control it very well kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to clarify, I don't know, I was just a little confused on when she found out that Reese was trans. Because I feel like at first Jude didn't know when that was finally revealed, but I loved how accepting she was of that. And I was like, oh, like she truly loved him.
Like Reese was just her person. So.
Yeah. And even they had that breakup that they discussed it towards the end of the book. And then she realized, she was like, no, this is my person. I was like, oh.
Can't talk about this, I'm gonna cry. Such a sweet moment.
I know.
I was shocked to see how like fast she was at accepting it. Like she didn't even she's just like, okay.
Yeah. And I wonder if that has to do with the fact that she wanted to go to medical school. So she was probably more aware of that type of stuff during that time.
Yeah.
Because she was interested in the medical field. So I don't know.
I kind of thought it was interesting too how Stella and Reese were kind of inverses of each other. Stella left her family behind to live a lie, whereas Reese had to leave his family to live his truth.
Yep.
I definitely thought the inclusion of Reese in the story to counter Stella was like super interesting and one of my like favorite parts of the story.
I feel like I'm sitting in a philosophy lecture. Like that was so deep.
Wait, what?
Like my mind is blown. Like I never made that connection, but now that you say that, I'm like, of course that was the connection. And like, oh, wow, amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I definitely take time to read the book club picks. And coming into this, I was like, I don't know how much I have to say about this. Because at face value, it was a great story, but I was like, I don't know how much I have to discuss. And here we are.
I think we talked about Stella for like 20 minutes. So I think
I know.
My mom brought up another point. She said that I think she's referring to how Jude was accepting of Reese, and she was so upset. She was so accepting of Reese because she also knew what it felt like to be an outsider. Thought that's an interesting point too.
Good point.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Any final thoughts about our characters here?
Do we want to talk about Adele?
Yeah, I mean we can.
We don't have to.
About her.
Well, I just like I don't know how. I don't even know what I want to say about her. I just she's a character, so we could discuss her.
Although, like, of course, she had that like internalized racism, which sucked. I thought like she lost a lot, and I don't know. I felt for her.
Yeah, it aggravated me how she treated Jude, but I think she kind of came around in the end a little bit too. I don't know. And it was like it's always sad seeing somebody have Alzheimer's and like how Desiree had been the one taking care of her the whole time, and she kept mistaking her for Stella, who had never been there for her. And I don't know.
Yeah,
that was Dang. I felt so bad.
Yeah, that's always a hard thing an emotional thing.
Yeah. One moment sorry, what were you saying?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that one moment I really liked with her character arc was at the very end when she was going through Alzheimer's and she just sees Stella on her porch and she's like, well, come on in. Like, what are you doing standing out here? And I just thought that like, that was a really great moment because even though they had all this time apart, they're still family and they still accept each other. And it made me cry a little bit. So,
and it was kind of interesting because she didn't remember the pain Stella had caused her. So she could just be accepting of her like the last time she saw her and not be antagonistic. Yeah,
I think the ending with Adele, because Adele was the one character from the beginning of the book that I had to go back and like figure out who she was because we hadn't seen her in a couple hundred pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it kind of came out of left field, but I thought it was really interesting that they made the ending scene like her funeral, because I think that could have been the only event that could have brought the sisters back together, and it still didn't.
Yeah.
So because I'm like, the only person that can truly bring her daughters back together is the mother. And yeah, I don't know. It was hard for me. It was really hard to see for that scene. It kind of hit me right in the feels. So
I need to go back and read the ending because I was like, you're like sad. I was rolling my eyes. I was like, what was the point of this?
Yeah.
When she was like, when Adele was like, okay, well, come on in. I was like, okay, so Stella's really just about to get away with all of this and like not get her stuff checked. Like,
yeah,
I'm kind of annoyed, but I kind of want to go back and reread some parts and really like think about it, like you guys do. Because that's really like, yeah.
I literally just Googled discussion questions here and.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the Google Doc.
Oh, you're fine.
There's an HBO adaptation?
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that.
Y'all didn't know about that?
No.
Wow. I think it's HBO. I could be wrong, but they made it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars deal for this book to become an adaptation.
Wow.
And I don't know how to feel, but I'm probably gonna watch it anyways. So
yeah,
there's that.
I think it would be a good TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HBO has great shows.
Yeah. And it's really exciting to see a woman of color get an adaptation like that, especially with HBO. I think that's definitely the direction we need to start pushing things.
I didn't know HBO. I don't know what I was trying to say. Never mind. But that's cool.
Yeah, that is neat. I really like this point that Laura brought up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, throughout the whole, like the philosophy of Mallard was that the lighter you are, the happier you are, the better your life is. Whereas this was really, I didn't even think about this. This didn't occur to me, but showing that Jude seemed to be the happiest to have her life most together at the end. And just really subverting that message that Mallard was trying to instill in its community. I think it's fairly interesting. I definitely think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably very intentional too on Britt Bennett's
I think everything about this book, everything that she chose to do is so intentional. But
her mind, I can't I can't even comprehend how she wrote this book with so many intentions in mind. That.
Yeah,
it's just too powerful.
But at the same time, I think it was so well written because she was just telling a story, and she allowed the readers to interpret it how they were going to interpret it. It wasn't pushing anything necessarily.
Yeah.
It just was, she trusted the readers to get out of it what she meant for them to get out of it, which is my favorite kind of writing. I think it's the best. I don't know. I just love books like this.
I definitely am going to pick up a quick thriller or a romance after this, because I was like, man, that was heavy. Yeah. It took me a long time to read. I felt like I read it forever, and I read it over the course of a week. But I think it was the combination of just the heavy topics and the long chapters. I felt like this book took me forever to read.
The long chapters really got me.
I did think it took me a little bit longer than usual, but I don't know. I was feeling stressed, and I felt like this book was what I needed. So I had a good, slow reading experience.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing you guys would change, with the story?
Ooh. That's fun.
I brought it up at the very beginning of the live stream, but I think this book would have benefited from having the point of views switch back and forth throughout the story. I think it would have, if we would have had a more linear timeline, but then going back and forth between Stella and Desiree, I think having that like dichotomy would have been more entertaining and didn't seem as slow. Because that was my only gripe, was I felt like literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I think it would have stayed a little fresher if we would have switched back and forth between the characters. So
See, I think about that, and then I remember that while this book is about twins, it's not to name drop here, but it's literally the vanishing half. So it was never meant to be Desiree's story, in my opinion. And it's supposed to be about Stella and her experience and like her identity. And I don't know if I would change that reflecting back on that, but I think that this book could have benefited from a little bit more of a plot. I know that it's a character-driven novel, and I do love character-driven novels, but it took me a really long time to get into this one, and it's really sad because there is so many good elements of it, but I would have liked something to have been continuously happening the whole time.
Yeah. I definitely like see what you guys mean. I don't think I necessarily agree. I think I liked that it was just focused on the characters, and I think it needed to be like that to achieve what the author was trying to achieve. But if I could change something, I think that honestly, I really, really wanted Stella to confide in Loretta, in her friendship with Loretta. I just think it really, really would have like humanized Stella for me and made her more of a character I could be empathetic towards. And like I understand why she didn't and what the author is doing with her character, but I just really, even if she confided in no one else, I really wanted her to have Loretta on her side. I don't know.
She did end up revealing the truth to her, but I guess I understand what you mean. You wanted her to be like a confidant and yes, she did. She did end up telling, well, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but she ended up finding out that she was Black. And
what?
Right? Didn't that happen?
No.
I don't think so.
I swear this happened. I swear.
Is there like an extra chapter or something?
Did I read the same book?
Different edition. She has the extended edition.
I swear this happened. I swear that she found out.
No.
Am I crazy?
Yeah, I thought she just like.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. There's like a part where she was like, I want to go over there and be like, I'm sorry that I did this to your family and I'm Black and da da da. But she never actually did it.
Oh my God, this is gonna bother me this whole time. I don't got time to go through all this. Let's see. Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna find the tea.
Well, what I would have changed is that Stella, I just wish she had some kind of like reckoning. Like that was my main thing. Or I think that, you know, either Jude and Kennedy had a close relationship. Like I thought it was cute how they did call each other. Sometimes they sat in silence. But I do wish that Stella and actually not really. Desiree deserves better than her. Also, do you guys think that maybe Stella had like a mental illness? Like, do you think maybe she was like, I was reading some parts and I was like, she kind of sounds like a sociopath, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I was touching on earlier when she just like totally removed herself and was emotionless to like every single thing. Yeah, I think she definitely could have sociopathic tendencies. I don't really know how else you could survive living like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Scary.
Yeah.
I can't find it, just so everyone knows. I'll look later.
Yeah, I don't think she ever officially knew, but I don't know. It's possible that I missed it. I think it was interesting too. This is like totally not the time to talk about this, but like how Jude and Kennedy kept running into each other. Was that like fate or chance or
sort of?
Yeah.
In some parts, because didn't Jude like start working at the theater
at first, but like to keep running into them and to run into them again in New York.
Oh, that's true.
They just, yeah. I just thought that was interesting how often their lives kept colliding, even though they weren't necessarily trying to make them collide.
That happened
Wait, what?
Probably like 3 times, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's destiny, not chance or anything, but I don't know. I think that they were just meant to find each other.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. That's how I like to read it as well.
Can you imagine how cute their relationship would be? Like, oh my gosh, I wanted that so badly.
Yeah.
Sad. But I think it's for the best at the end.
Yeah, I'm usually not a fan of ambiguous endings, but I think it worked in this case. I really liked how this whole book ended.
Yeah, I kind of think it was like, I think it did. I liked the ending because it was kind of like closing the chapter on Mallard, and then it was a new start for Desiree and Ellie, and for Jude and Reese. It was kind of like their new beginning, sort of.
I think it just mimicked how life is a little bit more. Like, it's like life doesn't always have this like perfect like bow tie, you know, and
like the story always
on the end of the chapter, like we don't always get closure for everything. Sometimes we just need to live our life and move on, and life just keeps on going. And I think that's what I enjoyed so much about it.
Yeah. See, well, that's a fair point. I would have liked a little bit more closure.
Yeah, I mean, it was very open, and I when I was reading it, I definitely was like, this is going to be something people are going to not like about this book. But I don't know, going through something similar with having family members pass away from Alzheimer's, dementia, stuff like that, it definitely like hit me right in the feels. But it also, I don't know, I just think it was, for this book, I think it was the perfect ending.
For me, I think that I didn't mind necessarily like the ambiguous ending. I just wish I had gotten more closure on Stella's character arc. I feel like we followed her for this whole entire book, and I feel like she really didn't develop or change. She only really said her truth to her daughter because, like you said earlier, Katie, she was tired of lying. And I wanted more from her, and I wanted her to genuinely change and genuinely start accepting her identity, but it just never happened. And so that felt like a little unfulfilling for me as a reader.
Yeah. Especially like me being like a romance reader, like I've never read, like I think when I read, I don't know, but I'm not used to that. Like I'm used to like everything being like wrapped up, you know.
And that's what's nice about reading romance, is that it's so different than real life. It's very much escapism, whereas this is like real life.
Yeah.
On a page. I don't know. I don't know what else I would have wanted from the ending. So I don't know.
I definitely think that this book should be a book that is required reading for like schools.
Because I can see this becoming a future classic for sure.
Yeah, the type of book where I was like, I see a lot of people that like aren't really readers like us that are like, you're wasting your time if you're reading fiction, and because you're not learning anything from it, it's just entertainment. And I'm like, you can learn so much from fiction.
Well, it's reading fun books. Like the point of reading is to like expand your vocabulary, expand your world. That can happen in even like the trashiest book. Like I know.
But this is definitely such an educational book, because we just lived the life of someone that wasn't like us, if that makes sense. And I was like, this needs to be like a required book. You know, forget The Great Gatsby. Who cares about them? But we need to put more focus on books like this.
I can't believe you just said forget The Great Gatsby.
Oh my God,
I'll throw it in the trash.
I don't know. I'm not a big classics fan, and
me either.
Going through high school where I was forced to read books, I didn't get anything out of them because they were forced on me. Like, I think we need to incorporate more entertaining but educational books like this. Yeah.
This would definitely be an interesting one to discuss in like a college, like a.
Yeah, there's so many nuances to it, because it's like we can read To Kill a Mockingbird, and it's like so obviously laid out on racism bad, you know, but this book has so many more nuances that makes you think a lot deeper about colorism and the differences between neo-racism and, you know, I don't
it's got a lot of layers to unpack. It's not just one thing is right, one thing is wrong.
It mimics real life much more than a lot of the books that we're required to read in schools. So I really appreciated this book.
Your cat.
He has something to say.
Yeah,
Like, spat
he's agreeing. He's like snaps.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
The bookshelves are like not super level, and so he's walking around. He weighs like 21 pounds, and so they're like kind of shaking. That's why I keep looking up here, because I'm like, he's gonna knock these bookshelves off live on stream. Here he comes.
I mean, at least it'll be recorded, right?
Oh,
All right.
so do we want to talk about next month's
Yeah.
book?
Is there anything anyone else wants to say before that?
Oh wait, me or them?
Anyone, the comment section. You.
Are you guys enjoying your reading rush stuff?
I'm done. I've moved on.
I gave up.
I never even started. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And I'm born in October, and my birthstone's in Opal, so I was gonna read The Vanishing Half for that. But I was like, I'm lazy to do this.
Yeah.
But I regret it. It seemed fun.
You still have like one more day. You could do it.
Yeah.
Find a book that fits all the challenges.
That's true.
Okay, so next month, the live stream will be on my channel, and I chose Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. I'm really excited to read this book because it's got very short chapters, and I think it's going to be super quick and easy to read. Like, the text is super big, and
Is it YA?
It is YA.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's YA.
So it is about a teen that I believe is bisexual. So we got some LGBTQ rep, and she is also HIV positive. And so it follows the stigma of being very young and having an incurable disease. And I think it's going to be really, really good. I've read the reviews on Goodreads, and everyone has nothing but amazing things to say. So I'm really, really excited about picking this one up.
Yay!
Our final ratings. Did they change?
Did they change?
No, I feel the same.
Yeah. For once, I think I'm going to stick with my 5-star original rating.
Yeah.
I
I think I'm a 4. I'll bump mine up to a 4.
4.
4.5.
It might be the highest average rating we've had.
I know.
maybe
Beach Read was
not. Beach Read was
pretty
probably pretty
high up there.
Pretty close. All right. Okay. Do we have another announcement for the book for next month?
Yeah, so we're going to be giving away a copy of Full Disclosure over on Instagram. We'll be posting all the details for the giveaway right after the live stream. So yeah, look out for that.
Very
The
exciting.
giveaway will end on August 2nd. So if you go over there, all the details will be there, so you can possibly win a copy of this book.
I'll put the link in the description too once it's posted. There's a lot of good stuff down there, so definitely check out the description. And all of our channels will be down there, so go check everybody out. If you aren't already subscribed, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but
Also, the Discord link is that down below too.
Yes.
yeah, join
Join our Discord.
the
Discord's been very fun.
we go. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Did we say when the next stream is going to be?
Let me look at my calendar.
Because
real quick.
we're changing the day.
So we're going to be switching over to Sundays starting next month, just because there's a lot of other streams that happen on the last Saturday of every month. So it looks like next month's will be on August 30th. And we'll just keep the same time at 6 o'clock Central Time.
We changed it to 7.
Oh, we did? Okay. I didn't realize that.
So 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
Okay.
August 30th.
We've got it. Hopefully, we'll be there. Hopefully,
We'll get it figured out eventually.
don't worry. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. So much fun. Appreciate you being here.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're going to log off. Say bye, Elvis.
Bye, Elvis.